Someday I'm going to have an intro that's good, but we're going to go with this one for a while because I don't have another one. How are you tonight? I am rendering a video as we speak, so I hope my computer doesn't blow up. Sorry if it does. I don't think it'll be laggy or anything, and I just need to get it done. I've had a day. I love streaming, but I also love working. And today was one of those days where I just needed to talk to people. I was on the phone all day. Makes you wonder why I would be able to talk tonight, but we're going to do it because that's what we're up against. For those of you who don't know me, I'm going to start off early tonight. My name is John Schink. I'm the founder and managing broker of Deerwood Realty in St. Louis, Missouri. We're a small firm, very small. It's just me. And we concentrate mainly on helping buyers buy homes and sellers selling theirs. Market's been crazy. We have listings going on right now. We're representing buyers. We're seeing the market just do some odd things. But the goal of my show is just to help kind of wade through everything that you might be seeing. Like when you're in the business, you don't get caught up in some of the things that you might be getting caught up in outside of the business. Like, for instance, one of the things I think people outside of the business think is like, okay, I need to hire a real estate agent because they're going to know the exact price my house is going to sell at. And I don't. And so we should just choose that agent that has the highest price, the one that says that our house is worth more than the other 2 or 3 agents that we called. And then like you see advertisements perhaps that say like, I'm the best agent, I have the lowest fees or something like that. Well, do they? Who really knows? So that's my goal. Help you get through a very strange world in real estate. Let me start off the show tonight by just going through a scenario that I've just seen tonight, and I don't have a way to show you like on the internet. I can't screen share it, but I just wanted to go over a scenario. I just saw a CEO of a company, a real estate brokerage, speaking at an event sponsored by a real estate news company. And they were speaking about their earnings. Now, you tell me, is there any way possible that the news company can be, free from any sort of bias? Do you think they're going to just flame the guy that's sitting on stage for them? I mean, he's bringing them an audience. I mean, the employees alone, there's probably 20,000, 30,000 employees at the company. I say employees, but I mean agents, So that's the possible 30,000 eyeballs on this news site. It's something that I've noticed about real estate more than I notice about other types of business. For instance, like if you have like a plumbing company, no one really comes and interviews you from a plumbing news site. It doesn't really happen. I don't think it does. Healthcare, maybe. I don't know if there's any industry specific healthcare magazines or news companies, but I do know that I could see it happening. But anyway, what happens in real estate is all these people are thought of as just geniuses and wonderful, and then their companies go under and then they disappear from the scene. But they were getting sorry. They were getting free press for all that time. Free positive press. I mean, it's just weird to me. I just wanted to put out there at first, just something for you to think about. What are we going to talk about tonight? Well, we're going to talk about some things. We're going to talk about We're going to talk about me being old. I'm going to write down a list and do it better. But we're going to talk about we're going to talk about a Google Trends article that caught my eye. We're going to talk about voting in the United States for just a little bit. We're going to be on the Twitter, and we're going to talk about lots of things. We're going to talk about a real estate company that it seems like they're doing something illegal. I don't know that I can point it out exactly. If not illegal, possibly unethical. But we'll go over that, and then we'll talk about the demand for mortgages and where that's at right now, and agents still going to Compass. Interesting stuff. Will I run the full hour tonight? I don't know. Last night I actually got through all of my articles, all of the tweets, everything like that. Tonight, I don't know. I don't have a whole lot going on. If you feel the need, if you feel the desire, please feel free to put something in the chat. Because of the famed incident where I streamed for over an hour without a microphone on, let me just check real quick tonight to see if we've got audio. We do. That's good, because it's embarrassing when you stream for that long and no one can hear you. And then I got a copyright strike. That's bad. All right, so let's get into it. I mean, why waste time when you're here and I'm here? Here we go. Let me make sure I got it right. Yes. Okay, here we go. Share the screen. Okay, let me ask you this. Do you know who Rainn Wilson is? Or was? He was on The Office. He was Dwight K. Schrute on The Office. How do I know that? I actually watched The Office. Hard to believe that I watched a show. That might have been the last show I watched. And to be honest with you, towards the end, it was a little bit, it had jumped the shark. But what I've noticed is when I don't understand the celebrity culture exactly, but I do understand, like, if you want to be a celebrity, you need to get your name out there any way possible. And so if you do something stupid and people pay attention to it, like that, you did a good thing. And so, like, Rainn Wilson did something stupid and it got him the press that he needs. People have now remembered, him for being, something other than Dwight K. Schrute, I guess. Let's take a look at this article and see. It says, Rainn Wilson, I changed my name to Rainfall Heat Wave Extreme Winter Wilson. Okay. I mean, remember Ron Artest? He changed his name. Chad Ochocinco. That was a good one. What does your name say about you? Well, I don't know. Does it dishonor your parents to change your name? I don't know. Anyway, let's get to it. It says, The Office star announced his name change on Twitter Wednesday ahead of the United Nations Climate Change Conference, COP27 summit in Egypt this week. With the help of my scientist friends at Arctic Base Camp, I've changed my name to Rainfall Heat Wave Extreme Winter Wilson said. This is not a joke. I'm as serious as the melting Arctic, which amplifies global risks, including extreme weather events around the globe. People are being murdered in Russia and Ukraine. People are being murdered other places in the world. People have no money. People have no food. Dwight K. Schrute is serious about the melting Arctic, which amplifies global risks, including extreme weather events around the globe. I mean, if you get your name out there, right? The 56-year-old actor is a board member of Arctic Base Camp, a team of Arctic experts and scientists who bring their expertise to events around the world. What the hell does that mean? Why don't you just concentrate on the Arctic? Why do we need expertise outside of the Arctic? Asking for a friend? I'm so grateful to Arctic Base Camp's longtime supporter who has changed his name to Rainfall Heat Wave Extreme Winter Wilson to help us warn people about global climate impacts due to the melting Arctic, said Gail Whiteman, Arctic Base Camp founder and professor of sustainability at the UK's University of Exeter Business School. Well, you wouldn't expect the business school to be a professor of sustainability. What the hell does that even mean? Wilson said he hopes to raise awareness about global environmental issues and the consequences from the warming Arctic. Arctic. Very hard word to say. Well, so he has, right? So maybe I'm the only person, but I'm reading this malarkey about global warming and climate change because of Rainfall Heat Wave Extreme Winter Wilson. It worked. I'm hoping this name change brings attention to this growing or melting issue. We need world leaders at COP27 to take notice and take action. The Arctic is melting at millions of liters per second, yet this problem can't seem to make a name for itself. So it's up to us to make a name for it. Okay. Whenever someone writes something like this, name change brings attention to this growing issue. We need world leaders to take notice and take action. What specifically do you want them to do? Do you want them to write a letter? Do you want them to turn off the electricity for a month in their countries and keep people in the dark? Do you want to ban plastics? What specifically do you want to do? Or do we just want to talk? Wilson shared that he changed his name using the Arctic Risk Name Generator website, though it's unclear if he has plans to officially change his name. Spoiler alert. He ain't changing his name. It says, go to arcticriskname.org and create a name that will bring attention to this problem. Then, as this, and this is the important part, change your social media profile or display name to match your new Arctic risk name. And if enough of us do this, then maybe COP27 will be where our world leaders sit up and notice Arctic risk and introduce a solution. How are they going to do that? How are they going to introduce a solution? How are they going to do that? We don't even know what the problem is. They need Arctic Base Camp to go talk to them. I guess. They amplify global risks, including extreme weather events around the globe. Oh, bring expertise to the event. So I guess they have a plan. Do they have a plan? Their plan is changing their names? That doesn't seem like it's going to work. Well, I try to do my part, right? For the environment. So I went to the thing. This is my new name. John Suspended Shipping Schink. I don't know what to do about that. I don't like that name. I'm going to do it again. Oh, John Sweltering Summer Schink. If I wanted to be if I wanted to be that guy, I could have some fun with this, and we could all have fun with this. But I don't want to do that. I like to stay on YouTube, and I don't want to be criticized too heavily. But I invite anyone who'd like to put their name generator in there and be creative. Be creative. Let's get I don't even know what are we trying to solve? Let's get this issue in front of the COPT 27 members at the World Championship of Discussing Nothing in Egypt now. I don't really have anything else to add to that. Moving on. All right, I'm going to go here because I think it's important to do it right. So we're going to go here. Now look. I believe people are good, but capable of doing bad, very bad. I believe that in the United States of America, the greatest country the world has ever seen, the most powerful economic force the world has ever seen, I believe that if we can put a man on the moon without really a lot of, digital work, more mechanical, I believe that we should be able to count votes in a timely manner in every state. And I also believe that if we don't, two things happen. One, we lose faith in our elections. And two, we look like idiots. How is it that in 1960 you could count votes in a day and release the results, but we can't do it now? Like we're regressing. Oh, there is a number 3. Number 3 is if we can't get a vote tally, an accurate vote tally on the day of the voting, then it's because the political parties, both of them, are trying to obfuscate and not find a solution. How in the world can you say that elections are free and fair when you can't even count them on the day that they happen? Now, I've seen people say Brazil is the example. Brazil is the example. They have 185 million people or something, and they managed to know the vote within a couple hours. Now, I don't need to go to Brazil to understand that voting isn't really that hard and counting the votes doesn't have to be that difficult. I'll just, as an example, Florida. They counted their votes and were done within 3 hours for the most part. Okay. Even Missouri, like I literally stood in line. They asked me some questions. I handed them my ID and then I voted. It took about 20 minutes. Okay. We didn't have any weird things going on. That's where I am. So I will tell you a story about voting because maybe it will help you someday. As some of you might know, I spent 8 years, I believe, in Detroit, Michigan, city of. And it was an enlightening experience for me. But one of those more enlightening experiences than others was watching when votes were to occur. You see, Detroit, I mean, if you want to talk about old school, city of Detroit, they have cars with speakers on them that go up and down the streets of neighborhoods with recordings telling you who you should vote for. This is completely normal there. I've never seen that in St. Louis. In Detroit, the ballot is just basically, it just says D on it everywhere. you're literally going to vote for a Democrat. It's just a question of which one. Okay. Which is hilarious to me. So I voted one time in Detroit for president. I believe it was for president. So we go to this high school. Okay. There weren't that many people there voting. I don't know if it was just that time of the year or that, what it was, but there weren't that many people there. But what I witnessed was fascinating. And that is, so I went and I got my ballot and I voted, no big deal. I think there you put it in like a metal tin or something, like a metal basket or something that you couldn't get into unless you had the key. But I literally watched a woman coach students from the high school that were probably 18, so they could vote, coach them on how to fill out their ballot. Not like, oh, hey, you should fill out, like, make sure you fill the ballot out like the circle, make sure you fill it out all the way. No. They're like, they would read the questions, okay, on the ballot, and then they'd say, you don't want that. You don't want that. You want this one, right? This is the one you should pick, right? Maybe that's not illegal. It should be. It should be. But I wanted to go over this article. Let's add to it here. Let's go. And just here we go. Right here. Did I do it right? Why are Arizona election results are taking days? Yeah, so why? Why? Okay. I mean, this was Arizona. Arizona had problems in the previous election. And as far as like, John, why do you care? Well, why have an election when it's in doubt for like days? What's the point? Well, if we can't know right away, what's the point? Especially in our world that we live in now. Why can't we know? Like, shouldn't we as citizens rise up and say, look, this particular part is BS. I mean, you want to talk about disenfranchising voters, okay? Have it so they go to the voting stations and vote, and then the vote gets jammed up in the machine or there's not enough paper. It's not acceptable. It's not acceptable, especially when this happened in the same county 2 years ago. I don't care who wins either, by the way. I really don't. I want a fair election, and I want a timely election. Don't care. Democrat, Republican, I don't care. Independent, whatever. I want the results within the first day. I think that every state in the union should have results within the first day. 100%. And we'll go through this. I did read the article ahead of time just to I did browse over it. But let's get into it. It says Washington, this is from the Associated Press, but I picked it off of WFTV 9. I think it's in Florida. It says polls closed 2 days ago in Arizona, but counting for 2022 midterm elections continued Thursday as officials continue to tally votes cast in outstanding races for Senate and governor. Arizona's votes are announced in waves and typically take past election day itself to tally. The wait isn't new, although in cycles past, the intervening pause has become a contentious time some candidates have used to cast doubts on an election's integrity. I don't care about candidates doing that. I think everyone should be casting doubts when you literally can't get through the voting process correctly. And if you want to say, well, they're that's their process that's causing them to wait many days to get an answer, then fix the process. Fix the process. It says here's a rundown of how things are shaking out as Arizona's ongoing vote continues. It says no winners have been called in all of Arizona's top of the ticket races, including Democrat Senator Mark Kelly, re-election battle against Republican Blake Masters, as well as the open governor's race between Katie Hobbs, the Democratic Secretary of State, and Republican Carrie Lake, a former TV broadcaster. Associated Press also hasn't called winners in contests for Arizona's Attorney General and the new Secretary of State, and no race calls have been issued in some of the state's U.S. House races. Lake was about a half a point behind Hobbs, and the Republican candidate for Attorney General also trailed narrowly. Democrats had 5-point margins in the race for U.S. Senate and Secretary of State, but with so many ballots outstanding, the contests were too early to call. Again, I don't care if it's a Democrat or Republican. The votes need to come in that day. They need to be counted, and we need to have the results. Don't care what party. Don't care who wins. What are the rules of the game? Almost all of Arizona's vote happens by mail, and counting all of those ballots can take a while, particularly in a county as large as Maricopa. The state's largest and fourth largest in the country, Maricopa has come to a total of 4.5 million residents, about 2.4 million registered voters. Okay, so they have a process. Okay, it's not a good process. And you say, well, John, how can you say it's not a good process? Here's why I can say it's not a good process. Their votes aren't done by the evening of the election, and therefore it sucks. It's inexcusable. Experts, because we can trust them, had also warned. Oh, I'm sorry. It says early votes in Arizona can be counted as they come in, meaning that officials don't have to wait until poll close on election day to start. What happened on election day? There were some Republican activists in Arizona. Of course, it's always the Republicans' fault. In Arizona, who advocated that voters intentionally wait until election day itself to drop off their ballots. Some of this push was based on the unfounded by whom? Theories that fraudsters could manipulate voting systems and rig results for Democrats once they'd seen how many GOP votes had been returned early. Just switch the story around. Do the same thing with Democrats. See how it works. Some of this push was based on unfounded theories that fraudsters could manipulate voting systems and rig results for Republicans once they had seen how many Democrat votes had been returned early. It would still be wrong. It says this issue. Oh, I'm sorry. Expert had also warned that such a last-minute crush of ballots could end up creating delays that can ultimately be used by a bad actor to undermine confidence in the election. There were some hangups this year. About a quarter of voting centers in Maricopa County, Arizona's most populous, had a printing problem on Tuesday, meaning that marks weren't showing up correctly when voters showed up to print out their ballots. Now look, they had the same problem 2 years ago, and no one fixed it. No one fixed it, Republican or Democrat. At this point, this must be a feature and not a bug. The issue ultimately got rectified, and elected officials assured voters that every ballot would be counted. Well, that's nice. Most Arizona counties don't count ballots in-house with officials, instead bringing them to a central facility. Oh, that makes it really transparent. Maricopa County officials count Dropbox ballots at their central facility, which was the scene of protests by hundreds of Trump supporters, some of whom were armed after his 2020 election loss. Very funny. Very funny. Very funny. Some of whom were armed. Why does this sound familiar? There was intense scrutiny on Arizona's processes, rules, and counting after the 2020 election, when Joe Biden notched his slimmest margin of victory in the state, becoming the first Democratic president hopeful to win Arizona since 1996. In the weeks after that election, though, there were a myriad of protests and court challenges to the results. In 2016, yeah, but nothing was done. I mean, they went to the courts. I mean, nothing was done. The politicians did nothing. I mean, I don't care. Again, I don't care if it's Republican or Democrat. You did nothing. You did nothing to restore faith in the election process to the people. You disenfranchise voters when you don't count votes in a timely manner. It says, in 2016, a decision to reduce the number of Maricopa County's polling places during the presidential preference primary resulted in hours-long lines that caused some voters to leave the polls without casting their ballots. How many? Some. In primary elections 2 years later, dozens of county polling places weren't set up and ready to accept voters when polls were supposed to open, causing cascading issues throughout the day. But there was no evidence of widespread fraud. Well, it wasn't investigated. And you knew that nobody cared because they didn't fix it. When do we get new numbers? It says officials estimated Wednesday there's about 400,000 Maricopa County votes left to count. with about 275,000 of those being ballots that came in on election day itself, votes known in some places as late earlies, the counting of which has been known to hold up tabulation. Well, if that's the case, then fix it. Just fix it. And then if you say it's not that easy, Florida did. Missouri had its results pretty quick. I mean, I want every vote to count. Every real vote to count. I also want it to be done in a quick manner. And this should not be up for discussion. When people say, like, look at how great the government is, look at how many things it does for you, they literally can't count votes in a timely manner in Arizona, and no one does anything about it. Again, Republican or Democrat. In all of Arizona, officials said there are some 600,000 ballots left to count. 200,000 ballots the rest of the state. 400,000 in one county alone. There are about 17,000 outstanding ballots. About 7% of those cast in person on election day that were set aside due to a Tuesday printing problem at about a quarter of the county's vote tabulation centers. A judge denied a request from Republicans to keep the polls open, saying he didn't see evidence that people were not allowed to vote. And officials said those votes would be tallied throughout the week. Throughout the week. You've got to be kidding me. What do we do as citizens? Well, we just have to express our displeasure with this, our displeasure with Arizona. They should be shamed into getting their voting system right. I mean, what did it take in Florida to get the system right? It literally took a Supreme Court case for the decision of who was going to become president of the United States. Why were they able to fix this, but they can't do it in Arizona? Fix the election issues. Don't make any excuses. Just fix it. I don't care what party you're from. Moving on. Deerwood.com, DeerwoodRealtySTL.com, for those of you in St. Louis that are interested in homes in St. Louis. I just wanted to go over interest rates because a fascinating thing happened today. The core CPI came in lower than anticipated, sparking a huge rally on Wall Street and a collapsing of the mortgage 30-year fixed. 60 basis points we were down today, going from 7.22% all the way down to 6.62%. No, we're not at 5%. 5.5% would be good. But this was a welcome sign for the most part. Now, people are saying that it was a short squeeze on Wall Street, so that's not so good. The dollar dropped, I believe, today. That's not so good. Rallying when inflation was still 7.7% and the government adjusted numbers, or I should say manipulated numbers, that's probably not good either. But look, 6.62 for a real estate person isn't bad. I mean, that's better than what it's been. All right, let's move on. I just want to look at some tweets tonight that says the fever is breaking in rents. Zillow's rent index year-over-year change percentage points in the year-over-year rate. CPI weighted OER is owner's equivalent rents and primary rent year-over-year change month to month. You can see that this is moving this direction. See, it was very, very high in January, and now it's moving down. But this is a prediction because this is all the way out to 2023. We are like right. Well, I guess, look at how dramatically it fell. I couldn't even believe it. I thought I was misreading the chart. Kara Mason, realtor out of, I believe, Philadelphia. Yes, it says City of Brotherly Love. Record-breaking drop in the 30-year fixed rates today, now 6.62%. Could just be a blip, but I know I'm not the only one spreading the news to my buyer clients. We should see an uptick in pendings by next week. That's very interesting. Hell, I like it. There. I liked it. Maybe Kara will come on my show. She seems to be okay. Now, will I see an uptick in pendings by next week? Because one day we're down in 6.62% on a 30-year fix? No. No, I won't. Why? Well, we're not that close. So like if you're on a $500,000 house and the rates change, that much, and that's what's keeping you from buying the $500,000 house, that seems odd. That seems odd to me. And like, let me get this straight. You can buy a $500,000 house, but only if it's 6.62% and not 7 point whatever percent from yesterday. It's hard for me to believe. I'm not saying she's wrong. I'm just saying it's hard for me to believe. It's not something that I would see. Rick Palacios Jr. C-suite commentary on yesterday's Tricon residential earnings call alluded to single-family rento shadow supplies thesis, starting to see returns to normal seasonality in new lease tradeouts and moderation in overall level of rent growth. One of the factors at play could be a higher supply of rental homes that we're seeing in our markets, which could be caused by would-be home sellers opting to rent out their homes in light of challenging mortgage environment. Supply of rental homes in our Sunbelt markets appear to be back to where it was prior to the pandemic, and rents have softened about 3% to 5% from the peak. So the narrative here is someone is, they've got a house that they don't feel like they can sell. And so instead of selling it and losing money, they're going to rent it and recoup some of that investment over time, because everyone wants to be a landlord secretly. This in some ways, we talked about Airbnb bust yesterday. That's what I seem to, that's what I will probably not forget about the 2007 situation. It was simply everyone I knew had like two houses that they were like going to fix up. And then when the market changed, they couldn't fix them up. And so now they were sitting there. And then when they were sitting there, like no one could buy them because they were terrible, because they were being remodeled, but they weren't finished. And there was no money to do so, or no motivation, because you were already losing your ass. So anyway, interesting hypothesis. Ryan Lundquist on Twitter, he's got a meme. Sellers not listening to the market. I agree with that. It pains me to say that. There's so many different participants in the market that, I don't know, there's so many things that make up a massive market like housing. So I get like why, like what you would do if you were, I guess, my age. Like you could look online, like say you believe that the housing market isn't as bad as you think it is. You'd go online and look and Google, and you'd say, like, is the housing market that bad? You would ask a question that would get you the result that you want. And then when you found it, then you would say, well, that must be truth. If I go to a listing call right now and the seller has me sit there at their kitchen table and go over the numbers, and I show them that the last 6 houses in the neighborhood sold for 20,000 or more over asking, they will say to me, first they'll say that we should come and list it $20,000 over asking. So whatever the last house sold for, that's where we should start our pricing. That will happen like today or tomorrow. I can say, well, look, Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller, the market has changed dramatically since these houses sold. After all, this last house sold in April or March of this year. I mean, rates were like 2%. They will say, John, thank you for spending your time talking to us about the real estate market. We'll be in touch. Okay. And so I'll be like, oh, great. Cool. Looking forward to hearing back from you. The next time I will hear back from them is when the house is on the market with another agent, priced at the price that they said they wanted. Okay. And it won't be from them. I'll just see it online. See, you'll just lose it, the listing. Now, some agents would say, you know what, that's great. I didn't want to work with those people anyway. They weren't being realistic with their pricing. I've been there. Is it the right way to think of things? I don't know. You tell me. But here's the thing. If the market's really right, okay, they're not getting their money no matter who's listing the house. And that's kind of where the agent that doesn't want to take the listing comes into play. Do you really want to go up to someone and say, you know what, we're $50,000 over where we need to be. You need to drop the price. Because then what you get, if you're a terrible agent, then what you get from the sellers is, well, you told us this would be the price that the house would sell for. You lied to us. Remember, like, you lied to us is a cardinal sin when it's compared to you're greedy. Seller can be as greedy as can be. That's okay. You lying about the price that you think you can get for the house is not, in their eyes. Darth Powell, I thought this was something we should go over. Airbnb boycott. It says stealing homes from home buyers, running a hotel next to someone's house, artificially inflating prices, horrendous bait and switch fees, chores while being charged fees for chores, ability to cancel stays very close to long planned traveled with little consequence. I agree with this. It's hurtful, okay? It's hurtful because, like, I'll have somebody say, hey, I want to buy a house and I want to turn it into an Airbnb. I'm a real estate agent and I want them to buy a house because that's how I make money. But I also don't want to live next to an Airbnb. Why? I don't know. Like, even if I hate my neighbor, I'd rather see the neighbor I hate every day than like random people going in and out of the house all the time. That doesn't seem like a good idea for me. That's number one. Number two, like, living in a home is different than investing in a home. And what I mean by that is, like, say I can afford like a $200,000 home. Now I say $200,000 because I live in St. Louis, Missouri. At one point in time, that was a lot of money for a house. I think we're averaging in the threes as well. But anyway, so I have this house. It's $200,000, and I see it come up, and I want to buy it for an Airbnb. And I do the numbers, and it turns out that a mortgage for the house is like $700. Let's just say we're playing around here, okay? So like a young family could move into that home and live there for 30 years. Let's say 30. at $700 a month. Or somebody that wants to rent it out as a B&B looks at that property and says, I think I can get, X amount of dollars. Let's just say $300. Okay. And I can get I can rent it out every weekend for the entire year. And therefore I can make, $300. Let's say $400. Let's do the math. $400 a weekend. So I can get $1,600. And I'm only paying, on my mortgage, I'm only paying like $700. I literally make $700 every month. But what does that do? It changes the valuation of the home. And how does it change the valuation of the home? It changes it higher. All of a sudden, this is an income producing property that's shedding $700 a month, which is amazing. What do you think investors will do then if they see that you can get that amount of money for that house? They'll move to a different house and try to buy it in the same neighborhood. This raises the home prices for eligible buyers. It's a bad thing. Why is it a bad thing? Because it's artificial. It's artificial. So while you're raising these prices, like true owner occupants are having to pay more and more and more to get into the neighborhood. At some point in time, it just doesn't make any sense to pay that kind of money to live there. And now it just becomes all rentals. It's bad. I don't wish it on anyone. Moving on. I'm going to try and do this way. Okay, look. There are many people who hate real estate agents. And to be honest with you, I understand why some people think that way. I know real estate agents personally that are terrible people. They're just terrible. They're sharks. They don't care about you. They care about money. And they don't mind if they have to walk over your corpse to get it. They will say anything. They will do anything to get your commission. Now, these people exist in other walks of life. They're not just in real estate, okay? I think that's a misnomer. But you have to understand that they're out there. I think everyone does, and I think that's why we have, among many other reasons, why we have such poor street cred. I did check the numbers on. We are a little bit better than a used car salesman, but not by much. And so when I see a story like what I'm going to bring to you now, it hurts my heart because it's what hurts real estate sales in general. It's why people don't like you. And so let's get into it. Let's go here. Quick cash with a big catch. 40-year-old agreement on your home. ABC 11 troubleshooter investigation. Now, let me tell you how I found out about this situation. In North Carolina, the Attorney General is suing a company or investigating a real estate company out of Florida. I think it's like MV Realty for deceptive business practices. Now, I don't want to handicap them. I don't know if it's a legal practice or not, but I want you to know what they're doing. Something could be unethical, but not illegal. Something could also be unethical and illegal. I don't know, but let's go through this and then you tell me if this is the reason why people hate real estate agents. It says, with inflation hitting consumer hard, money is tight for many homeowners. One program is offering cash in exchange for a 40-year listing contract on your home. It's called a homeowner benefit program, a program that offers between $300 to $5,000 in cash without taking on a loan. It caught Maria Calder's attention. She says, we thought we could get $800 now. $800 is what MV Realty offered her in exchange for that cash. she would have to sign a 40-year agreement on the listing of her home if she wanted to sell it. So let's just break this down for the 7 people that may watch this video. You own a house, okay? You need money. This magical company out of Florida, MV Realty, says, hey, if you agree to let us list your home for sale anywhere between now and the next 40 years, we'll give you $800, or we'll give you $500, or we'll give you $1,000. All you have to do is sign this paperwork and we'll give you your money. Do you know how long 40 years really is? Let me say this. Would this be considered buying the listing? I don't know how you could say it's not buying the listing. We normally think of buying listing as a real estate agent going in and saying that the listing is worth way more than it really is, just so they can get the listing over other agents. It's a despicable practice, but it happens all the time, and it feeds into the seller's greedy instinct. Not that it's a bad thing to be greedy. I'm just saying that's what it does. This is a little different. This is, I'm giving you cash and you promise to list with me. If you ever sell, well, I won't ever sell. But you know what the problem is with that? The problem is if you already need money from a real estate company, $500, $1,000, you probably have a money problem. And you're probably going to have to sell your house soon just to get out of your money problem. So anyway, Calder said, we didn't have no money, and paying the $800 at the time was a good deal to us. And since I was just not going to sell, I thought, well, let's get some money and we don't have to worry about it. Now, there's no such thing as free. Always remember that. If something sounds too good to be true, it is. But she did have to worry about it. Just months after signing the agreement with MV Realty, she said money got even tighter. Imagine that. Calder said she had to sell her Garner home that she's lived in for 23 years. She listed with an agent right around the corner from her home, Terrence Boykin, and it went under contract. Well, congratulations, Terrence. You did a good job selling this woman's home. By the way, this scheme is targeted to people that need money. Well, that's not good, because people that need money that have homes will probably have to sell them at some point. It's almost obvious what's going to happen. Boykin said, my transaction coordinator did some research. She found out that this document was attached to the deed of the house. The document, which MV Realty refers to as a memorandum, is attached to the deed on any home they have a contract with, even if a homeowner doesn't use MV Realty to sell their house. What did this mean for Calder? Boykin explains, they had to pay that extra 3% at closing, which meant that seller was paying 6% commission, half to the buyer's agent, half to the seller's agent, and an extra 3% to MV Realty. Your $800 just got really, really expensive. In Calder's case, at closing, it meant she owed MV Realty more than $6,000. They gave you $800 and now you owe them $6,000. They didn't do a thing. It was just, we got the $800 and that was it. Remember that the $800 is what MV Realty paid for an exchange for a 40-year listing agreement. If I knew to have to pay $6,000 in exchange, no, it was not worth it at all. It's terrible that we have to be tied up on some agreement like that. Now look, you had somebody hand you, quote unquote, free money, and you thought it was no strings attached? It says, when troubleshooter Diane Wilson asked Calder why she didn't just contact MV Realty to list her home for sale, she said, at the time, we didn't even know where we had the paper. I was looking to be able to contact them. I mean, I have no idea where we had it. So she almost acknowledges that she would have listed the home with them, but she lost the paper and had no idea that the other paper was being filed with the county. The MV Realty agreement got the attention of the North Carolina Real Estate Commission. Legal counsel for the North Carolina Real Estate Commission, Janet Thorin, says, it puts, in my opinion, a point where we're questioning whether or not this is some sort of predatory lending. Is it predatory lending? I mean, they lent $800 and they got $6,000 out of the deal. I don't know. Should MV Realty be punished for thinking like this? I don't know. It doesn't seem like it doesn't seem to pass the smell test to me. Says Thorin says they're investigating MV Realty and its home benefit program. Don't call it a 40-year locked-in listing commitment. I think they don't fully understand the terms of the contract and what that means. And at the time, most of these people are desperate and they're needing some cash. Once customers sign the paperwork with MV Realty, Thorin says it acts as a lien on the property. She says it's being treated by a lien by the closing attorneys as well as by the title insurance companies. So that lien has to be satisfied before the property can be sold. A lien that is attached to the property owner for the next 40 years. Like it's basically like secured debt. Like you will pay us or you will give us your asset. They're expecting people who have signed agreements to come back to them down the road, and they're expecting somehow for the heirs or signs of these properties to come back to them. And there's just no way these people would know if they're not the ones that signed the agreement. Even the ones that signed don't seem to know what they've signed. I'll tell you, that is a problem with real estate paperwork. I mean, there's so many documents. You're signing lending documents, you're signing listing agreements, you don't know what the hell you're signing. When looking at just Wake and Durham County property records, MV Realty had or still has several memorandums on customer properties, more than 200 in Wake County and more than 90 in Durham. Thorin says that when homeowners are offered money up front in exchange for signing a contract, it's key to understand the terms and conditions of what you're signing. If you're getting free money, what you think is free money, you really need to take a hard look at what you're signing. So this company has basically bought 290 listings. At 3%, it's a lot of money. A lot of money. And by the way, if they're smart, which I'm pretty sure they are, they're not going to give you more money than they can make on the commission. Like for this case here, what it was $800 they gave the person, and they got a commission of $3,000. So when they say like they can offer between like $500 and $3,000, that $3,000 is going to be on a house that's worth $500,000. The North Carolina Attorney General's office says it's also investigating MV Realty. Also in July of 2022, Better Business Bureau stated online its agency conducted an investigation and determined their BBB files contain a pattern of complaints for consumers that allege issues with contacts. Specifically, consumers allege the Homeowners Advantage Program contract is unfair and in some cases not fully explained, according to the BBB. MV Realty worked with the BBB to improve its customer experience. Consumers allege the Homeowners Advantage Program contract is unfair and in some cases not fully explained. Is it unfair? The whole like let me just try and go over like the philosophy of real estate agents and brokers versus people just selling houses without a license. The idea is that homeowners in general are not sophisticated. They're not in the business. They're not doing the business of real estate every day. And therefore, they need to have protections. And the best way to protect them is to be able to have an agency agreement, because then that specialist, that expert, can help them through all of the pitfalls of buying or selling a home. And then one step further, the idea of the broker is the state can't watch 40,000 individuals on their own, but they can watch the owners of brokerages or the managers of brokerages, which would be a significant number lower than the total agent count. And so long as brokers are watching over their people that, and so long as the state's watching over the brokers, everything should be in good shape for the buyer or seller of real estate. Now, in this case, a broker themselves is going kind of on the edge and causing people to hate real estate agents and the whole game of real estate. So as for Calder, MV Realty provided a statement to us that said, in part, the homeowner benefit agreement is a straightforward concept. We paid Ms. Calder for the right to be your agent and earn a 3% commission. Only 3 short months later, she listed her home for sale with another agent, and that agent earned the commission. In a circumstance like this, the company is entitled to a termination fee equal to 3%. Mrs. Calder only incurred this cost because she chose to breach the agreement and list the home with another agent instead of listing with MG or MV as she agreed. She's agreed to list with them for the next 40 years. We are not aware of any reason why Mrs. Calder did not allow MV to list her home for sale, which would allow MV to earn the 3% that it was entitled to. Ms. Calder has offered no explanation as to why she would accept the $800 and 3 months later not use MV as her real estate listing agent as she had promised. So they're saying, look, we gave you $800. You promised to use us as your agent, and you didn't. What's your problem? As for the memorandum lien MV Realty puts on their properties, the company says it serves as a public notice of the homeowner's commitment to give MV the opportunity to represent them in the sale of their home. This is to protect MV in the event a homeowner attempts to sell their home without allowing MV the opportunity to be their agent. When it comes to the complaints and investigations, a representative adds that they work diligently to respond to any inquiries, and the company has a strong ongoing commitment to consumer disclosures and is constantly adding to them. Some of these disclosures include, but are not limited to, clear, unambiguous language of the contract itself that includes the description of the 40-year term, the filing of the memorandum, and the termination fees and the circumstances when they would be due. The same disclosures are again emphasized in a single-page leave-behind document signed by the customer. Additionally, the company's website prominently displays these same key program features, as well as an extensive FAQ session. That's frequently asked questions. When it comes to the 40-year homeowner benefit agreement, a representative says the point of the HBA is for someone to give our firm the opportunity to list their home for sale. While the agreement term is for 40 years, our opportunity to represent the seller is only for 6 months, after which time, if they can sell their home successfully at the same terms, they do not own anything to MV. And so let's stop right there. What do you think that means? Unsophisticated homeowner in need of cash. Oh, there's like a window of 6 months, okay, where I have to list with them. Out of the 6 months, I can list with someone else. Oh no, that's not true. What they're saying is you agreed to let us list your property anytime within the next 40 years. Anytime you go to list your property with an agent, okay, you have to go through MV. Okay. And by the way, when we take the listing, we have to have an expiration date on our listing contract. And so that's 6 months. So what you're doing is you're agreeing to list with us anytime within the next 40 years, and our listing agreement will last 6 months. So that means, like, if we don't sell the house in 6 months, then you're out of your listing agreement and you don't have to list with us anymore. But the chances of that happening, honestly, not good. Not good. The best advice before agreeing to any program or contract is to not get enticed with money. Instead, read thoroughly all the paperwork, terms, and conditions. If you don't understand it, hire an attorney to read over the paperwork or get someone to help you. Hire an attorney is a great response, okay, for people that have money. For people that don't have money and are looking to get $800 because they literally can't afford anything else, hiring an attorney is going to cost them more than the $800 that they could just get for free, quote unquote, for using this company. And it's not a reverse mortgage. This is why people hate real estate agents. Let's go to the rewards program for MV Realty. Remember, what we do, this is just like Congress. We name things that are absolutely terrible. Like homeowners receive cash with the homeowner benefit program. Who does it benefit? Sure doesn't benefit the homeowner. Well, yes, it does. We give them $800 for the right to list their property. Oh, I can do this without taking out a loan? No obligation to sell your home, not a loan, absolutely no credit check, no need to make payments, no regrets, 3-day right to rescind, and a 40-year agreement, long-term relationship. Oh, I like long-term relationships. A 40-year relationship for me, think about that. I'm 45 years old. I'd be 85 years old before I could get out of the listing agreement. How in the world is that legal? And I mean, they put it right here. Disclosure: when you sign the homeowner benefit agreement, a memorandum will be filed in the county where the property is located. The purpose of the memorandum is to serve public notice of the homeowner's obligation of the HBP agreement, homeowner's benefit. This is like Inflation Reduction Act, more jobs, this, any of these stupid things you see in government. In the event you sell your home without an agent or with an, oh, even if you sell your home without an agent, fantastic. Or with another brokerage, you will owe a termination fee equal to the amount of commission, which is 3%. So they put it right there. They say, yeah, this is shady. Yeah, this is not a great thing, but we're putting it right there. How stupid are you that you can't read this? Frequently asked questions. How does the homeowner benefit program work? I mean, it tells you, like it says, this is what we do. It's not like they're hiding it. If you're a homeowner, we can offer you a cash incentive of up to $5,000, a percentage of the estimated value of your home, in exchange for a 40-year agreement to use MV Realty as your listing agent. And when you decide to sell your home, if and when, you don't have to. And if you can live past 40 years and not sell the house, I mean, you win. Because payment's not a loan, no credit checks required. Homeowners can obtain the money immediately and keep it whether or not the home is sold during the period of time that the agreement is in effect. It says, why is the term of the agreement so long? Well, we understand 40 years seems like a long time, but the actual listing agreement, which is separate from the homeowner benefit agreement, lasts just 6 months. Yeah, that's a little dicey. We talked about that. The listing agreement that you sign when you list your home with this company is 6 months. They have the right to the listing for 40 years. We look at the HBA as a long-term investment in homeowners. We're basically buying your services. You just don't know it. And the foundation for a mutually beneficial relationship, but one with a one-time 6-month opportunity to earn our commission if and when we list and sell your home. There's never any obligation for a homeowner. So that's right. You don't have to sell, but when you do, you don't even have to use us. But when you do sell, you will give us 3% of the sales price. It says, do you file a lien on my house? No. We file a memorandum. The purpose of the memorandum is to serve public notice of the homeowner's obligations of the agreement. It's a different word for lien. Let's see. There must be a catch. What's in it for you? If you can't figure that out and you need the FAQs to figure it out, we consider our HPC a long-term investment in homeowners. And it's a great way to advertise. Think about it. If I can just give you $300 and you're going to let me list your property, I mean, that's $300. I'd gladly spend that to make 6,000 or make 5,000. We want to make sure that if you decide to sell your home, we will have the opportunity to serve you as a listing agent and then work hard on your behalf to earn our commission. And then here you go. What happens if it doesn't sell within 6 months? They're purposely conflating the listing agreement and their obligation to list the property. Okay. That's the issue. This is key. What if I die? Is my family obligated to using MV Realty as its real estate agent? The agreement our client signed has a 40-year term and remains in effect for the full term, even if the original homeowner has passed away. Our commitment is to provide the best real estate services to you and your family throughout the contract term. Can you imagine, some poor old person, Social Security isn't cutting it. Maybe they're a little bit confused. They say, hey, I want some money from you. They sign the agreement. The kids don't even know. And then now when they go to list the house for sale, they got to deal with this. They were already dealing with the loss of a loved one. And now we got to deal with this stupid agreement that the person signed before they died. What if I wish to cancel my participation in the agreement? Can I simply repay the fee you provided? Our agreement is fully binding, and you may not repay our cash incentive in order to exit the agreement. If you need to cancel the agreement, you'll be required to pay a 3% fee equal to the fee we would receive for successfully selling your home. So then they go out and they say, okay, well, I want to cancel. Oh, you can't cancel. And then they say, oh, well, how much do I owe you? Well, what's your house worth now? Let's say we could sell it for, 200,000. Yeah, 3% of that. What happens if I sign up for the HBP and want to use a different agent to sell my house? Yeah, like what if your kid is a real estate agent? What if my parents are like, hey, John, when I check out, you can sell the house and then you get that money and we're really happy for you. But then, we accidentally we needed like $4,000. And so now this other company is going to sell the house. Well, they just get 3%. You can still sell it, but they get 3% just for doing nothing. It's not nothing. They gave you money up front, but anyway, the agreement requires that you allow MV Realty the opportunity to sell your home first. That is why we are making the investment in a relationship with you. If we do not succeed, you can list with another agent at the same listing price for 120 days. Wow. Wow. My MV's so the way I'm reading this is you let us list it first. If we can't list it, you can give it to someone else for the same price, same listing price. You can let them list it for 120 days. And then if they don't get a sale for it, what do? It goes back to us. Wow. Why have I seen some complaints about MV Realty? It's unusual for most business. That's a very dangerous way to go. It's unusual for most businesses, especially newer businesses, to have zero complaints. And MV Realty's business model is relatively new, and on occasion, some homeowners have forgotten they signed an agreement requiring them to list their home with our agency should they decide to sell. It's very important that you understand the terms of our agreement before signing. MV Realty actually has a very low percentage of complaints versus satisfied customers and an average 5-star rating on Zillow. I don't like Zillow. Our goal, however, is zero complaints, so we carefully investigate each one in order to try to resolve them quickly and fairly. I feel like if they do have a 5-star rating on Zillow, I think that there should be some sort of way to explain that these people have basically paid for the listing up front. And then it really doesn't matter if they do a good job or not because they're entitled to the commission, whether or not they're entitled to the commission, regardless of whether or not they sell the property within the 40 years. 40. Is this legal? I don't know. Is it ethical? I don't know. Is it something I would ever tell somebody is a good idea? No. No. But you have to do what you think is best for your situation. Moving on. Loan. I thought this was kind of fun. Loan demand for mortgage loans crashes to depression levels. Well, that doesn't sound good. It says in the chaos over the past few days, we missed the release of the Fed's latest senior loan officer survey, which came out Monday. The results were striking, as one would expect from an economy in a recession, in some cases depression. In nearly all categories, banks are reporting both tighter lending standards and sliding demand for new loans, and nowhere more so than in mortgages, both quality and otherwise, where demand has collapsed to depression levels as a result of the fastest ever, it should say, in interest rates. I'm going to pause that because I don't want to get a copyright infringement. It says, while C&I loans are doing okay, the demand for credit card debt is still near record highs, to be expected at a time when revolving credit debt is soaring at the fastest pace in history. Record APRs be damned. It's only a matter of time before these two core credit categories follow mortgage loan demand into purgatory, at which point the U.S. economy will be a complete disaster. Here are some more details courtesy of Goldman. Lending standards for commercial and industrial loans tightened in 2022. For banks that tighten credit standards or terms for C&I loans or credit lines, all cited a less favorable or more uncertain economic outlook is playing a role. Demand for C&I loans for large and medium-sized firms weakened. Standards for commercial real estate loans tightened in 2022 Q3. Credit standards on mortgage loans tightened somewhat. Bankers' willingness to make consumer installment loans decreased in Q3, but loan supply and demand aside, the punchline from the survey is that most banks assign probabilities between 40 and 80% to the likelihood of a recession in the next 12 months, with no bank reporting a probability less than 20%. Although the banks in general assigned relatively high probabilities to a recession occurring in the next 12 months, most banks have recorded expecting the recession to be mild to moderate should one occur. In addition, most foreign banks assigned a probability between 40 and 80% that a recession would occur within the 12 months. Yes, this is where I'm kind of stuck. There can be a recession and it not be that bad, or there can be a recession that's just a freaking collapse. And, what I've noticed over time is like you can have a number of bad things going on in the economy, but the Fed's ability to be almost wizards and kick the ball down the field, for another day is like, you know, significant. So what are you going to do? What are you going to do? You read this stuff and it's like, doesn't seem like things are going well. Moving on. This is the last article for tonight. Compass came out today with, I think they had earnings or they talked or something. Let's go through it. It says, as Compass attempts to continue navigating what CEO Robert Refkin called a generationally bad year in residential real estate, cost-cutting measures remain the name of the game for the brokerage. Honestly, this has been a good year for me at the end. It was not a good year for me when I would say Compass was doing well. It says the past 12 months have been tough and the next 18 months appear that they can be tougher. Since the second quarter of this year, we have been aggressively melting down our expenses to adapt to this rapidly deteriorating market and already have achieved significant cost reductions in our technology, engineering, and other operating expenses through a variety of measures, including force reductions. He said that the firm will be implementing further cost-cutting measures in the next 3 months as Compass prepares for what some are predicting to be a significant double-digit decline in transactions in 2023. In addition, executives said the brokerage plans to be free cash flow positive in the second quarter of 2023. While Compass did not perform as well as executives had hoped, thanks to rising mortgage rates triggering a housing market slowdown, executives were still pleased with the firm's performance. This was most notably due to just a 12% yearly reduction in closed transaction size to 54,606 for the quarter, compared to an industry average of 21%, according to the National Association of Realtors. So they're saying we only lost 12% of sides. Most of the other people averaged 21%. During the third quarter of 2022, Compass generated a total revenue of $1.49 billion, down 14% year over year, which the firm said was driven by lower market values. In addition, the brokerage failed again at turning a profit, reporting a gross adjusted something or other net loss of $154 million compared to a net loss of $100 million 1 year ago. This company just bleeds cash. According to Compass, this net loss included non-cash stock-based compensation expenses of $50 million, depreciation and amortization of $21 million, restructuring charges due to the cost savings actions of $29 million, $25 million of which was for severance and litigation of charges of $11 million. They've got $11 million in litigation charges. In August, Compass announced the end of its agent recruitment incentives program as one of its cost-cutting measures. Now, this is the reason why I wanted to talk about this article. It says the benefit of this step meant that we moved to a much better economic approach to recruiting agents, as we no longer use equity or cash incentives to attract agents to Compass. Now, see, that's how Compass grew. They grew by identifying top talent in each marketplace and literally giving them an equity stake or just giving them incentives, cash incentives to come to Compass. It wasn't a hard strategy to figure out. Okay. If your agent is at Compass, it's not hard to figure out why they're there. Okay. But this is what I thought was interesting. In the third quarter, Compass gained 335 principal agents, resulting in an average principal agent count of 13,314, up 15% year over year. Who are these people? Who are these 335 people across the United States that decided now is the time to go to Compass when there's no incentives? It says in October, the first month of recruiting with zero incentives after our September force reduction, our growth team reported more expected profit per recruited principal agent than we ever had. We believe agents are making the decision to join because of our platform, our strong brand, and the support we offer as deciding factors as opposed to financial incentives. If you're a real estate agent, okay, and you can't figure out that at the end of the day, money is the most important thing for you to continue your business, and you instead say, oh, well, I like the coffee or the environment of the office. Oh, I like the platform. Oh, I like the brand and the support we get. You are not where I am in my business. We're just not the same people. Looking ahead, executives are continuing to bank on the brokerage agent platform and are looking ways to better improve real estate agent experience. The most recent change being piloted on the platform is integration of title and escrow into the platform in Southern California. And this is something that every real estate brokerage tries and every real estate brokerage fails. They try to integrate title, and that's money, and escrow, which is basically holding the money until it gets dispersed. But you can make money on the interest. By integrating title and escrow directly into the technology platform, we are creating a low friction way for our agents to offer title and escrow services to an existing brokerage transaction, increasing the attach rate of adjacent services. So they're not even 100% trying to make money on the transaction as much as the ancillary things. Such a hard strategy to pull off. And I'll tell you why. Let me just try and go through it for you. Okay. So say you're a home buyer, okay, and you like your agent. They're at Compass and you think they're great people. And the agent says, hey, let's use our title company because it'll go a lot smoother. And they're like, oh, that's cool. And then the guy says, or the girl says, hey, let's use our lender because our lender's pretty cool. I like them. They wear nice outfits and they seem to talk well. So let's just go ahead and use them. And, the buyer's having a good experience with the buyer's agent. So they're like, sure. Well, the problem is you're handing your buyer off to two people they don't know now. Okay. And if you're a company man, you're more interested in sending them off to somebody else with your company rather than the right person for them. And so all of a sudden, this home buyer meets with the title company, and the title company person is an ass. Okay. But they're still Compass related. So it's like, I don't know about this. And then they go meet the title person. If I did title person, then switch it to the lender, whatever. It's getting late. And then they meet that person. They're an ass. So now all of a sudden you've got two people that are miserable that you don't want to work with, and one person that's your buyer's agent that you do want to work with. This causes friction, a significant amount of friction, and screws things up for the agent. This is why it's very, very hard to do a one-stop shop. Not saying it can't be done, but to do it profitably and over a long period of time is difficult. Another thing that they're not paying attention to is what if the buyer's agent brings the lender a good client, lender turns them down, client walks across the street, goes to a different lender accepts them, approves them for stupid amounts of money. Now the buyer's agent looks like an idiot. Not good. And then there's this last sentence that says, with Compass pausing any further merger and acquisitions activity, because how can they? How can they? They're burning through cash. The brokerage's main goal for adjacent services moving forward is to improve the adoption of an attach rate for Compass core services. Dicey. Now, let me just do this. I did it wrong yesterday. I need to remove it here, and here I am. Okay. Well, what did we learn tonight? We learned that Compass is still doing okay. I mean, they're still in business. We learned that there's some, I mean, I feel like that's a little slimy, that MV Realty. You tell me what you think. You put it in the comments or the chat. Seems like the market's not doing well. We saw mortgage rates drop today. That was interesting. But yeah, anyway, talk to me. Chat. Call. Don't call. Just put it in the comment section. But that's what we got for you tonight. I hope you enjoyed the show. I enjoyed bringing it to you. Tomorrow night is Friday night. Man, the week just flies by. I'll see you tomorrow night. Same time, Friday night, 9 o'clock. We'll do it. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.